The truly successful people in life, no matter how frantic things get, no matter what the pandemonium is in their lives, they're able to stay on course because they use their values as their compass. They keep and stay in touch with what's most important to them, what really truly matters in their lives.
That philosophy that we have to come first at least some of the time needs to run through every aspect of our lives. You have to come first at least some of the time. And here's the truth about it. It's only to the extent that you love and care for yourselves that you're truly able to care for others.
Stephanie Marston is a dynamic, motivational speaker, author, and international life balance expert.
Let me ask you a question. How many of you would drive your car when the gas gauge reads empty? You have to come back tomorrow for a makeup session. How many of you have children? Many of you. Would you ever ask your kids to pull an all-nighter to study for an exam or to finish a project? Never. We would never do that. But we push ourselves unmercifully. We push ourselves to act more generously than we feel, give more than we have to give, and we don't think there's going to be any negative consequences to that. But trust me, there are. The resentment creeps in, and then it seeps out or explodes in the form of Cruella de Vil, wreaking havoc on your friends, family, and co-workers.
In her programs, Stephanie delivers solid content and practical techniques to restore your sanity and bring your life into greater balance.
I mean, the point is to vent the anger without causing more conflict.
Stephanie has frequently appeared on such shows as The Oprah Winfrey Show, The Today Show, The Early Show, and CNN Headline News.
And now we drive everywhere, and I think that we spend so much.
One of the best ways to create greater balance in your life is to use a powerful two-letter word, no. Let me ask you a question again. How many of you say yes when you really want to say no? Come on, fess up. Look around, you're in good company. Why do we do this? We say yes when we want to say no because we're afraid to hurt the other person's feelings. We don't want them to feel rejected. We don't want them to think badly of us. We don't want them to be disappointed. But who is disappointed over and over again when you say yes and you really want to say no? Yourself. So one of the best ways to create balance is to use this powerful two-letter word.
She is the author of 5 books. Chicken Soup's Life Lessons for Women, If Not Now, When? Reclaiming Ourselves at Midlife. Chicken Soup to Inspire a Woman's Soul, The Magic of Encouragement, and The Divorced Parent. Stephanie contributes regularly to publications such as Family Circle, Ladies' Home Journal, Reader's Digest, Better Homes and Gardens, PTA's Our Children, Women's World, and Working Mother. In her programs, Stephanie makes 3 promises to her audience. They will learn how to switch from being stressed, unfulfilled, and overworked to creating a life they love. Learn innovative, practical tools to balance the competing demands in their everyday lives, and to reconnect with their personal values and beliefs, and make time for what truly matters.
Self-care is essential. It's not something that we do after we finish all of the tasks on our to-do list, because the reality is we're never going to finish all the tasks on our to-do list. Isn't that true? Let me tell you a story from the Life Lessons book. A woman named Kathy was standing in the laundry room, laundry piled up to here, the sink was full of dishes. Her 3 young boys were playing in the living room, sword fighting, chaos was all around her. Her husband Paul came in and said, "Honey, I know your birthday's coming up. What would you like for a present?" Kathy had been thinking about this for a long time. She thought, why is Paul asking me now? I don't know. I'm in the middle of all this craziness, but okay. She said, "Honey, I want a deer stand for my birthday." Kathy came from a long line of hunters. Her father, brothers, in fact, her husband Paul was a hunter. And she always envied them the ability to sit up in the trees, in the quiet, in the solitude, waiting and watching for deer. But how could she explain this to her husband? So he started to walk away shaking his head saying, I thought women like lingerie and perfume and jewelry. My wife wants a deer stand. But a few days went by, and Paul came home, and he said to his sons, come on, let's go out and build your mom a birthday present. And they all said, Mom, don't you come out until we come and get you. Several hours passed. Paul came in, took Kathy by the hand and said, close your eyes. He led her out into the backyard, and the kids said, okay, you can open your eyes now. There in the crook of the maple tree in the corner of their yard was a platform just big enough for one person with a railing around it, a lawn chair, and a rope ladder leading up to it. And the kids said, Mom, aren't you going to go up and try it? Kathy climbed up the rope, settled herself down in the lawn chair, looked at her kids and said, this is the best birthday present I've ever gotten. And it was. Because Kathy, anytime she got totally frazzled, the phone was ringing off the wall, the kids were getting too noisy, she'd pour herself a thermos of tea, put a couple cookies in the bag, take some magazines, go out, climb up her rope ladder to the deer stand. And sometimes she'd only stay for a few minutes, just long enough to quiet her beating heart or watch a mother bird nesting in the tree. Other times she'd stay for an hour, maybe taking a nap, reading her magazines, and her kids knew that whenever Mom was in her deer stand, they were not to disturb her. And inevitably, when Kathy would climb down from her deer stand, she would be refreshed and renewed and ready to take on whatever life had to offer. Her husband Paul came up to her and he said, honey, the kids had carved a sign for her in wood that said, Mom's Deer Stand, spelled D-E-A-R. And her husband Paul said, honey, I didn't have the heart to tell the boys that they spelled deer wrong. Kathy said, Paul, they didn't spell it wrong at all. That was the dearest gift I've ever gotten. And it was. So probably you're not going to go home and ask your husbands to build you a deer stand. But maybe, you never know. But the point is, how do you create a deer stand in your lives? I'd like for you to think about what are 3 things that you would do if you took time for yourself on a regular basis. What are 3 things that you would do if you took time for yourself? Pedicure? Massage. Write a what? Write a book. That's in her spare time. What else? Dance. Go to a movie. Anything else? Read. Bubble bath. Did you feel the energy in the room increase as you began to talk about this? Most of us feel like we don't have enough energy in our lives to do all the things we need to do. And look at the energy you created simply by talking about what you would do. Imagine if you did it. So I would like to ask you, please, if you're willing to make a commitment to do at least one of the things that you came up with before the end of the month, please raise your hand. If you're willing to do one thing before the end of the month, make time for yourself. Thank you. Give yourself a hand. Terrific.
Jack Canfield, creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, asked Stephanie to write the first of a new line of self-help books, Chicken Soup's Life Lessons for Women, 7 Essential Ingredients for a Balanced Life. In her keynote programs and seminars, Stephanie is quickly redefining the way people approach work and life, creating greater productivity at work and increased harmony and fulfillment at home.
Another essential ingredient is we have to ask for what we want. We don't ask for a couple of reasons. We've been taught it's not polite, but also we don't want to hear the word no and feel rejected. So we play it safe and we wait, and we wait, and we wait, and often nothing happens. Let me tell you a story about Marquita Andrews. Little girl, born in New York City, growing up with a single mother. That year, Marquita joined the Brownies. And they were having their annual cookie sale and contest. The prize was for the girl who sold the most boxes of Girl Scout cookies. She won a trip for 2 around the world. Marquita said, hey, I'm getting off easy on this one. Marquita went out and she started selling Girl Scout cookies. She sold 3,526 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. Now, you know, if you sold a couple hundred boxes, that'd be a lot. Marquita sold 3,526 boxes. How'd she do it? She lived in the city, a lot of people. Every morning, she'd go out of her apartment building and stand as people were going to work saying, want to buy some cookies? Want to buy some Girl Scout cookies? Want to buy some more Girl Scout cookies? And she kept asking and asking and asking. When Marquita turned 14, she was invited to speak in front of the $1 Million Round Table, which is a group of the highest selling realtors in the country. At the end of her speech, she said to the people in the audience, there's an index card under each of your chairs, and I'd like you to write a number between 5 and 10 on that card. She gave them a couple of seconds, and then she said, that's the number of boxes of cookies I want you to buy from me as you're leaving today. Do you know the word chutzpah? This kid had chutzpah. That day, she sold 7,000 boxes of cookies. Marquita Andrews was listed in the Guinness Book of World Records for having sold the most boxes of Girl Scout cookies, 32,000 boxes. Now, how did she do it? She asked, right? And that's what you need to do. You need to get good at asking.
With a master's degree in counseling psychology and over 25 years' experience as a licensed family therapist, Stephanie Marston is deeply connected with the challenges people face day in and day out. Stephanie Marston is committed to providing people with essential tools to reduce stress, balance work and family, and maintain a high quality of life. Stephanie's life lessons will help you to create true satisfaction, fulfillment, and a meaning-driven life. Solutions that are sustainable, practical, and incredibly effective. Real-world help from America's foremost life balance expert.
How many of you would consider yourself to be a type A personality, meaning you're fairly driven? Probably many of you in this room. Let me tell you a story about what happens when a type A personality goes on vacation. My daughter was born on an island in British Columbia, which is not too far from here, beautiful island called Hornby Island. And she hadn't been back to the island since she was 3 years old and her father and I left. So when she was graduated from high school, we decided to take a trip back up to Hornby so she could see where she was born. We get to the island and we go to one of my friend's houses, Stevie, who's a jeweler. And her house is filled with these beautiful stones that she had collected from the island. And she saw me admiring the stones. And she said, you know, if you find a special stone while you're here, I'll make you a piece of jewelry as a memento of your trip. That was it. I was on a quest. I was searching. Every day that I went for a walk, which was every day, I was looking for the perfect stone. After about 3 days, I realized that I was more stressed out on my vacation than I was living in Los Angeles. And I had to call a halt to it. I said, you know, you're making yourself miserable trying to find a memento of your vacation rather than being on vacation. Okay, wasn't easy, but I put a stop to it. I was riding around the island on a bicycle and ran into an old friend of mine, and she said, you want to go for a picnic out at Helliwell Park? And I said, sure. So we rode our bikes out to this beautiful park, climbed down a cliff, ate our picnic, and we were lying on the water's edge in this beautiful bay when suddenly something started to tickle the palm of my hand. I looked down. There was a perfect jet black stone, the exact size of my finger, with a beautiful oval inscribed on it. Without any effort, what I had been looking for came to me. There it was, and here it is. Now I started to realize how hard I'd been pushing myself, that I thought that if I didn't make something happen, nothing was going to happen. And I started to think about, is it possible for us to start to surrender more to the river of our lives? What would happen if we didn't push ourselves quite so hard? What would happen if we listened to the deepest, clearest voice that resides within each of us? One thing is for certain,
there'd be far less stress in our lives. And if for nothing else, it's certainly worth considering.
For more information, please contact the person who provided this preview.